its general direction seen over the last 40 minutes or so, but just a little bit of an exacerbation in the last couple of minutes.
Good morning there, Jam. Hey, TM. Brett, good to see you. Osho. Stephen, Soup. TM, hey guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Big day today. And we're going to start with the most important news. Remember the purpose of these sessions. Yeah, hey Brett, good to see you. Remember the purpose of these sessions is to understand the macro fundamental bias, see what the current sentiment is, and then to find some technical savvy areas for potential entries and exits. Now, just as we're getting stuck in, just the first thing to be aware of today is markets are laser focused on one event, and it's NVIDIA's earnings, which are coming up. I want to show you something clearly. The first thing to be aware of is not only is NVIDIA a big tech stock name, it's seen as the poster boy for the artificial intelligence revolution. S&P 500, look at the weighting of NVIDIA. Huge impact on the S&P 500, enormous impact on the Dow, and enormous impact on the NASDAQ. As we know, US equity markets drive global expectation essentially around whether the global economy is shrinking or growing. The old saying that when the US catches a cold, the rest of the world sneezes is going to be very true today. How NVIDIA is doing is going to impact commodity markets, FX markets, equity markets. And it's going to be a major.
The Commerce Ministry does warn of all necessary measures in the scenario the US makes progress with the 301 probe and imposes tariffs over the Phase 1 deal itself.
Now, the first thing to be aware of is volatility is elevated. That's largely due to the buy side being sort of a bit weary of continually buying into such high valued stocks. And that always gets attention at the moment that, you know, stocks are very highly valued, particularly this AI revolution that's been supporting US equity markets disproportionately compared to other stocks. So those very high valuations mean that equity investors are really reluctant to commit to more buying in the current environment. And you can see that volatility has been elevated over the last sort of, you know, month really. And you can see we're pushing over that 19 region. Now, when it comes to NVIDIA's earnings, I was just looking at some very interesting
on the table,
data.
Measures they're ready for dignified diplomacy.
So if you look here, right, NVIDIA, look at this seasonal pattern that runs from Feb into early March over the last 10 years. You see, there's been an average fall of 7.76%, and the maximum fall has been 24.38%. And on 1, 2, 3, 4 occasions, there's been a fall of greater than 10%. And, you know, around 3 occasions, around 15% or lower. And 2 occasions, more than 20%. That's starting on the 14th of February. Now, if you go back to 2020, NVIDIA's earnings on the 13th of February. Then 2021, it was the 24th of Feb. Right. Then on 2022, it's the 16th of Feb. Right. 3, it was the 22nd of Feb was the earnings release. 2024 was the 21st of Feb. You're getting the picture now. On 2025, it was the 26th of Feb. Right. So what I'm saying is that the earliest earnings window was 13th of Feb. So if you take from the 12th through to the start of March, there's a definite bias for selling over these earnings period. And the bar is really high.
Just next up on these,
it's, you know, NVIDIA hitting, you know,
January, those measures
hitting the headline EPS, headlines on what they're expecting. It's also going to be the forward guidance, and they need to reassure markets with a really positive forward guidance to justify the high valuations. So it's a bit like, you know, you're needing an A star or an A to pass the exam. And if you get a good results as expected, see that equity market, the 5 years, one from the 24th of Feb. Again, in the last 5 years, just as NVIDIA sort of been average around 5.58%. I want to have a quick look. So that's 24th and 9th of March. I want to compare that to the NASDAQ. Okay. The NASDAQ is this yellow line here. And that's one of the steepest falls all year is coming over this period. So you can just see there's a very high chance of volatility coming today. And investors will be just laser focused on that and aware of it. Okay. Now, if there is a big miss, what you'd be looking for is NASDAQ selling. A short position, right? I would say like it'd be volatile, so maybe a 40 point stop, try up to 3 times going short on that trend line, right? On an earnings disappointment. That's the setup that I'll be looking for later. The Dow weight is okay. So in the Dow, NVIDIA's weight is 2. So it's a lot less weight in the Dow, 2.42%. NVIDIA's weight now. So that's still, and we'll cover that in a Harami, false break of a Harami inside bar. Euro does stop and looking to get up to the 8800. It's a risk reward of around 1-to-1. Stops a more emergency level around there. So it's around a 1-to-1 risk reward that I'm looking for Euro pound. The dollar yen tried a few times on this hot zone yesterday, didn't get anything, but nicely pulled in at the 50 down at this retest. But anyone long dollar yen, I would want to close or move to break even before the NVIDIA earnings, which happens after the close. And that's because the yen is likely to be hit on risk on or risk off trading. If the NVIDIA earnings are amazing, then this dollar yen pair can keep moving up, and we'll discuss the reasons for that in a minute. Aside from that, nice work, TM. So you're breaking up above these highs. There's the dollars. This yen weakness story is supporting the dollar again. Yeah. So I see. Yeah, that channel breakout. Nice move. And in on that. Yeah, nice TM. Yeah, I can see it.
That's 1.7% year over year, 1.7% unrevised for the headline.
Yeah, so you just don't want to lose any money on that. That's the thing. So you could maybe try and hold it up until the NVIDIA earnings. Market's likely to get a bit cagey. We'll look at the Ayano Sada, this university, and Tachiro Sada of this university to the Bank of Japan Policy Board, replacing these two. The yen weakened on the announcement of continued easy monetary policy. Analysts said the PICs viewed as reflationist and dovish may reduce expectation of near-term rate hikes, lower short and medium-term yields, weakening the yen, lifting long-term inflation expectations. Though some saw limited practical change amid Governor Ueda's influence remaining strong, right? And it's a very respectful kind of culture in Japan. You don't just come out and like go against the main man. It's just not that kind of culture. But it is a pressure, and it's not hurting the yen right now. And you can see that the yen, well, I said not hurting the yen, it's weakening the yen, right? So the yen is the weakest. The Aussie is the strongest on the hotter firmer inflation data that came out last night. But this can all change very quickly. So at the moment, this yen weakness is supporting dollar strength, and that's keeping the dollar yen underpinned. So you're riding that sentiment at the moment, and then just make sure that you're either at break even or out before the NVIDIA earnings. That's the thing I'd say. And then just keep an eye on sentiment as we go through the US session. But that makes sense to me. The other thing to note about the Aussie dollar is this. The Aussie dollar is vulnerable. Look how stretched it is. This is how to use the COT report. You're looking for a currency that's stretched. The Aussie dollar is well above its 90th percentile to the upside. the most overbought it's been in months, years even. Yeah, nice. So this strength, what you're looking for now is a reason to sell the currency, and all those buyers have got to run for the sides. That's the way I use the COT report. I think that's the easiest way to use it. So that now means that with the economic data out last night, inflation is a bit firmer. That's increasing that hotter, higher for longer interest rate expectations out of the RBA. Not much of a move in rate markets though. So that's giving an indication that things are pretty much stretched. Hold on the March the 17th of meeting. So what we're looking for now is if those NVIDIA earnings really crunch, right? Let's compare the Aussie yen across this earnings period. Aussie yen, yeah, losses 4, right? So let's just look at the Aussie yen flat like that. Yeah, it's that Aussie yen weakness around this NVIDIA earnings, which makes sense because it's a risk-on currency. This is your typical risk-off currency. High beta currency Aussie against the safe haven yen. So the Aussie yen, yeah, we'll look at that in a minute, and the Aussie US dollar.
Just commentary from the Diageo CFO after their
well, look at that.
CFO says they're not sellers of the Guinness or Moët Hennessy.
I'd be inclined to go for the Aussie dollar short. That sort of narrative. This looks the other support level is, yeah. I think that's, you'll see KG later a bit. Now